All right, we're live.
Yes.
Welcome to Gary's Guitars Weekly YouTube extravaganza known as Guitar Talk. We are here to talk about guitars, all things guitars, guitar repair, guitar ownership, guitar selling, guitar everything. This week's guest host is Jonathan Blakeslee.
Hello.
Just to get the crowd up to speed, let's see, we'll give you a basic biographical information. Musician, tea expert, cafe owner, what else? Songwriter, singer sometimes, bass player, more often than not lately.
Yeah.
And you see the special bass behind us. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. It is pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a long story behind that bass, and unfortunately you're going to hear it.
And you might get some updates.
Yeah.
About recent history.
The recent history is up to you.
And surgery.
Well,
recent surgery.
Yeah. There is lots to unpack there. Anyways, and what else? Oh, yeah, some biographical information. I wanted to mention this. You even said, I don't know because I don't do that anymore. But This is Jonathan's record.
Yeah, that's my record.
That from a few years back. Still available.
That's true.
Pretty good record. Singer-songwriter kind of stuff with a rockin' folk rock band.
Oh, yeah. The band in particular.
Yeah,
outstanding. Oh, that's right. You were in the band.
Yeah, I'd play on it too. Yeah.
And our buddy Jim
Ryu.
And some other amazing guests.
But this is also with was an Eben on this too, and
it would say on the back.
Oh yeah, Jim.
Guy Capsulacho did some backing vocals.
That was the one before with Eben.
Oh yeah, and Chris Claxton.
plays trumpet. This is a good record.
It's time to give it a spin
Jim
again.
Ryu.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at this lineup: Jonathan Blakeslee and
friend Dylan Matrano of Tiger Saw and Lanef Chocolate did the cover art.
We're just doing the
you got to tag your friends with everything, or else.
Yeah. So, also, just for those of you who are new to this, you can just chime in by saying hi in the chat. If you have anything that you want to talk about, mention it in the chat. If you want to join the conversation, mention the chat, and I'll read some of those out. And we got someone from Utah. We got a few of our usual friends in there. We got some regulars. We got people from all over the world who watch this. Yeah. Tens of people.
You're all welcome.
It's good.
We're happy to see.
No, yeah, this is fun. I enjoy doing this, and you learn as you earn while you learn. I think that in this YouTube world, I think I got to prepare for the shows. And tonight, I said, I invited Jonathan to be the guest host
before at least 5 minutes before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just earlier today, and then. Thought we got to talk about bass because Jonathan's playing a lot of bass lately. Yeah. Also a guitarist. Also, we might talk about jazz masters in a bit. You know a lot about jazz masters.
I do.
Yeah, he played a jazz master for years.
Yes.
And then of course these beautiful basses behind us. You can see them both. One's an electric, one's an acoustic, and that's our teaser for that.
Yeah.
Chime in the chat, say hi, and then we'll just start talking about our stuff, and then you can ask us whatever you want, and we'll try to address that.
Totally.
So, should we start with the bass or get to the bass later?
I don't know. You're the ring master.
Oh, yes, I am actually technically the host.
Yeah.
Let's show them this one first.
Okay.
This will keep...
I get to be Vanna White.
Yeah. Check this out, folks.
Yeah.
From a distance, you might go, oh, that's a Hofner bass. But look closer, and it's not. And then you go oh, it's one of those Hofner copies. So many companies made violin basses after, Paul McCartney was seen playing them, including the American companies like Kay, and then there's the Univox ones, and then there's the Epiphone violin bass, which they still call the EB. But it was actually a copy of this, not the original EB. But this bass has an interesting pedigree because, yes, it's a Hofner copy, but it was made in the same town as Hofner.
Yes.
So I kind of got the story straight. You can correct me, or what do you know of the So it's the Klira, Klira.
Klira, and there are a lot of Klira collectors of these basses because they're a really, really good value of a bass.
Yeah.
They're basically, I've had people say it's basically like plays and sounds like
It's
a spot
basically
on
a Hofner.
Hofner. This is German made from
some
the
of the
60s.
same parts. They were located in the same town of Bebenruth. Bebenruth, is that how you say it? I can't remember now.
I don't know. The notebook got lost.
Yeah. You got to keep that stuff in your head. Anyways, they literally were in the same town as Hofner. Both bass and violin makers going back, probably at the time 70 years, now 120 years or something of instrument making. So yes, they rival the Hofner. I can say that because I own a Hofner. It looks like someone swapped the pickups or the rings on this. Maybe? It had rings maybe.
Yeah, I think what happened is these guys come with. There are some versions like this that have no. Actually, the Kliras are known for having cat eye type F holes.
Yeah.
And I did have one for a while that I bought at this fine guitar shop.
Shouldn't have sold it. That's great.
I know, damn. But anyways, I didn't really need to at the time. But anyways, these are humbucker that have a adjustable pole height. In this case, the funny thing is between this and the other Klira, this one's a little funkier. I think. Trying to remember if this one has some bent tuner knob, and then this is missing the original like little plastic trim rings and all that.
So what year do you figure that is?
Somewhere mid 60s, not exactly sure, but all I could say is this particular Klira between the two, the other one looked a little bit nicer and whatever, but this one just took it for me, and it's got a nice like compensated rosewood bridge to it, and actually Gary of original Gary guitar fame here, he actually rewired this puppy because when I got it had a couple of funny little things. And at one point this had round wounds, but it just wasn't as much fun. The flat wounds.
That is okay. So this is the debate.
Bring it on.
Okay,
bring it on.
Which is the so I have a Hofner bass. I bought it in 1986. So I'm a bit of a Hofner snob. It was maybe 20 years old when I bought it, and it's been with me for 30. So 30, 40, 86. A long time.
Are you saying you're not 21?
Yeah, I'm no longer. And I've had round wounds on my Hofner, and people think they come with round wounds on them. Firstly, not all of them, but often they did. And it's not a sacrilege to have round wounds on your Hofner or your Klira, because it makes it a little more versatile. With the flat wounds, you get that thumpity thump upright kind of sound, imitation upright sound, yeah. Which obviously, as an upright player, you go for in the electric bass. It's totally undeniable. But once in a while, you'll be at a gig, and you'll just have to get a little angry. You'll have to dig in a little bit, and those round wound strings can get raspy, and these just purr like a kitten.
Yeah. So
there's a place for round wound strings, even in the short scale Hofner world.
I have something I can contribute to raise some controversy, because that's probably part of what you do, right?
Yeah.
I remember there was a Robin Hitchcock somewhere in the last. I'm trying to remember his band that has Peter Buck and I think Scott from the Young Fresh Fellows in Seattle. Uh-huh. But anyways, they were doing this live recording at Robin Hitchcock's house in London, and I had never seen this before. And the bass player, he was playing with his thumb.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that. I'm thinking, why is he doing that? It's like, I've been accustomed to playing with both my fingers and faster, but I just started feeling it, just this meaty kind of like easy mute.
Yeah, you can get the palm mute pretty easy. That's how I started playing bass, by the way, with my thumb doing that when I didn't know any better. Yeah.
Well, I got hooked on it to the point where even a few years ago, recording on that very album with Marc, we kind of went back and forth between, but I loved this recorded sound of playing this bass with my thumb to the point where I really started getting some kind of gnarly, very raw feeling calluses on my thumb as a result. But it was worth it. So anyways,
so there's, it's a piece of bass technique there, which is using the. And I do that with my thumb too on the Hofner. I rest it against the back of the string I'm not using. Yeah. I will say I got to chime in with the room here because a little conversation has popped up that's not about this, and I will tell people. People are excited about Fender just announced new products for this year, and one of them they announced these new pedals that are affordably priced, and I will have a couple of those coming, but also this thing called JV Modified.
What? Tell me about
which is Fender Japan. JV is for Japanese vintage.
Yeah.
So everyone loves those Japanese vintage, those vintage reissue 80s made in Japan Fenders. This is a way to kind of have that made in Japan cachet with Fender, and they look incredible. But I haven't yet seen them because literally they announced them 2 days ago. So that's real breaking news. So we will be talking about that in the future, just not today. Then my brother Stephen McElroy is watching. In Burlington or outside of Burlington, and he reminded me that 1986 would be 35 years ago. I said 30 and I said 40. Turns out it's an average of the two.
I will say, having a brother myself, when you see your brother on,
on the social
TV,
media stuff,
it's fun to call them on,
on their idiocies. I know.
That's not what I was saying,
but that's what you meant. So he does poke quite a bit on here when he is, but please don't tonight. Don't tease me about my. But so this bass when you bought a Klira from here that I should have kept because I think it was beautiful. I love my Hofner, so if you see these around there now, they've caught on a little bit. How much did you buy the first one of these you bought?
I'm pretty sure I got this one for about $600, maybe somewhere between $650 and.
You used to be able to get them, So that they used to be something you could get for $5 to $8.
Yeah.
And now, like half the, like a quarter of the price of the Hofner the same year. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the last time I was looking for these because, I feel like a lot of them were well over $1,000, $1,200, etc. And when I got this, it actually had the original super heavy duty case that I think I gave to Mark because I just didn't know where to put it.
I still got it. It's in the back of the store. I don't know what to do with it either.
It's a wonderful paperweight
casket of a case. It's made out of like solid something. There's no plywood in it. I think it's solid wood.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So they knew how to make basses, did not know how to make cases.
Now that I could say something else about Hofner, if you actually want to talk Hofner.
Oh, please.
So this is upright bass number 2 for me, courtesy of, I'm lucky to know this guy and that we'll tell you more of the story. But the other upright that I have is actually a 60s German Hofner made.
Oh, right,
upright.
Okay.
And
so they kept making the Hofners and they were good.
Yeah. The one I have is like a Hofner shop bass. It's very sturdy. It's really beautifully finished and sounds great.
A couple things here in the room in the chat area. Chris Lammy is out there and he actually wrote and retracted 2 messages, but earlier asked related to my buddy Daniel.
Oh my!
That's just, so are you related to his buddy Daniel?
I've known a couple of Daniels, but I know one very well. The one that I grew up with, Daniel Blakeslee.
Danny.
Yes. Well, yeah,
he's his little Danny. Not so
well.
Little
I don't call him Danny so much.
But Dan Blakeslee is brother of Jonathan Blakeslee.
And Dan Blakeslee did. You've got some
the Garage Guitars T-shirt art.
And on your, the
Electric Cave art is from Dan Blakeslee. There's all sorts of. We'll pull up one of those T-shirts in a bit.
And your gig bag.
And the gig bag is.
There's a Dan Blakeslee art gig
bag.
All right,
I'll grab that.
All right. It's not that I'm plugging Dan, but I might be plugging Dan.
Someone bought the T-shirt because they love Dan's art so much, they just bought the T-shirt. So Dan is I'll show you the new Gary's Guitars gig bag comes with this Dan Blakeslee art stitched into it.
Yep.
So that's the Blakeslee connection.
It's going to make your instrument sound much better.
Yeah. So Dan is also a folk singer, I would call him. He's in the real. He travels with a guitar.
It depends. During the month of October, what would you call him? Dr. Gasp.
Dr. Gasp is his alter ego. He has a Halloween show. He has a Christmas album.
He has a Christmas album, and there are other holidays coming up, so anything can happen.
Jim Brennan said, "Nice logo." It is. Yes, it's a great looking thing. So we have it on a T-shirt. We have it on that. We're just going to use it everywhere we can. And so also you've seen Dan's art around. If you notice, everyone's seen a Dan Blakeslee something.
Yeah, or if you drank a heady topper, that's from label, a Dan Blakeslee can.
Dan's drawn it. Dan it's done a few beer cans.
Yep, he did some for Smutty Nose here in Portsmouth quite some time ago.
I want the logo on a hat. That's possible. We'll see what we can do about that.
Do you sell your logo merchandise online, shippable?
I should have it on YouTube. People have that thing where like click here for all our merch.
Oh yeah,
but we're not.
You could have your own QPB.
All right, yeah,
or whatever it is.
All right, let's
QVC.
So let's get back to bass talk.
Totally.
Because how much for a shirt or a gig bag? The gig bags are $30. The shirts are $20, but we're almost out of them, and they are technically limited edition. May I touch your bass?
Sure.
So here's the thing: Jonathan's girlfriend used to be my girlfriend. In this respect, this bass used to be mine. So let's talk about it for a minute, just so I can kind of celebrate it.
Sure.
So I went to Ukraine in 1993 for a year of college, and when I came back, I got a grant. I was given a grant check to do it of $1,000. And when you're in college in 1993, $1,000 is a lot of money. But the check didn't arrive before I left, so I went and had my education and came back, and there was just a check waiting for me. So I took it to the bank and it cashed. So I had $1,000 in cash, and I got in my car. And I went to visit my friends in the town I went to college in, Orono, Maine. And we went into a violin shop called Stevens Strings that used to be above what was the bagel shop, but now is some kind of Thai restaurant. And there was this cool old guy who fixed instruments there. And this was in the corner for $300. It had 2 strings on it. And they were fake gut nylon strings. And I was like, I want to buy this, but can you fix it up? And he fixed it up for a couple $100 more and got it going and made it left-handed for me because I play left-handed.
And a lot has happened since.
And I played this thing for 30 years. I played it a lot. And I wasn't digging it. It just we fell out a bit. And Jonathan started eyeing my girl here.
Well, actually what happened was, as an upright bass obsessive, I just happened to see a listing for a lefty K, and Mark is a lefty, and I just said, "Hey,
you should buy this bass and sell me yours."
I remember saying, because at the Electric Cave recording studio, this had been sitting in the corner for a long time. However, it didn't really play very well.
Yeah, it wasn't playing well. Things had just fallen out of sorts. It needed a bunch of work.
Yes.
And I could get it to work. But it was sad. So Jonathan so I basically said, well, I paid $300 for it. I paid $300 to get it going. And it was $200 plus strings plus something. So $600 into it. It owed me nothing. So I sold it as is to you for $600. And then
a lot happened. It got more expensive.
Now it's Jonathan's problem.
So the cool thing is, what's happened to this bass since, this is a German, it turns out this is a German flat pack bass from the 1800s. And, you probably cannot see in the camera, but this has a lot of repairs. This has long cracks, all these little filling guys. And at the time I got this bass, this needed a new fingerboard. It needed, Yeah, it needed a bunch of stuff. Now I can't even remember. Definitely a new nut. I think. So, anyways, what happened is I brought this bass to Narman Bass in Billerica, Mass. Volker Narman is, I think, a great luthier, a very knowledgeable guy, and he had to. This was there twice for. So this was there for several months. He actually had to. This is a 5/8 scale bass, whereas most uprights are like 3/4 to 4/4. So 5/8. This is just a little bit smaller, not that much, but and it didn't used to sound like very much either. But so I brought the bass there, and he said, "Oh, okay." He said, "It's old German bass." He said, "It depending on how much money you want to put into it, I can bring it back to life." But so he actually ended up making carving a completely new fingerboard from a 3/4 scale fingerboard. So this actually was cut down, fitted to this. But everything there's, I forget even what this piece is called down here.
That's the gut.
Well, the gut, but what it's
that's called the tailpiece.
I guess so. Well, this is the tailpiece.
That's the tailpiece. This is called the bridge.
Man,
that is the bridge
in
the violin.
Well, that's
hold on.
Anyways, we're both drawing a blank, and somebody out there is going to call us on it, but that's okay. You can.
We got some violin makers out there.
Yep. But anyways,
I think they call that the saddle, and this is the bridge. So that's what they call saddle.
That may be.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then the sound post had to be recut and refitted, and then of course it needed new strings because the strings are ancient.
Yeah.
And now this thing like really sings. It's like it took a while for anything to.
It had some waking up to do. It hadn't been played.
And now I got some Corelli strings. I mean, I've had some Spyrocore strings on here, which are really great for, thumpy jazz and things like that. But
actually, we got a guy named Dan in the crowd, not your Dan. Hello from Germany. It's a Dan in Germany.
Hello.
What is the town where Hofner basses are from? I think
he'll know better than we will.
Babenruth? That's what I'm asking him. If Dan's out there listening. Babenruth, where they used to be from, and where the Klira basses were from as well. All right, that's beautiful. It makes a really pleasant sound. It's a beautiful instrument. I think I'm glad you got it going again. And I do have my cave bass now, and we've managed to. It's taken a while because you have a bass for 30 years, and you just get used to it, and then other basses just.
Well, yeah, we'll have to get together with our basses,
and they have a little bass play day.
A bass, But
that bass is on this record, but I'm playing it.
Oh, that's true. He is.
Yeah. So,
but yeah.
That is the bass story. Let's check in with the room, see what's going on. So once again, this is Gary's Guitars, Guitar Talk and Bass Talk tonight. We talk about all things guitar and bass. And we'll answer any questions about basses or guitars. And so anyone out there, just puts a comment in the chat area, and we'll get to it. So far, every once in a while, my chat doesn't update here on the iPad.
And also, if anybody has thoughts or experience on, because actually, I think what's cool is there are a lot of people that are, I guess I could say I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I've played for long periods of time when I haven't owned an upright bass.
Played a lot of guitar.
I played a lot of guitar, in instrumental bands or my own stuff. But anyways, the thing that's kind of cool is like really from floating from instrument to instrument. And one of the things I would say with the upright, there sometimes can be a lot of fussing around trying to find the set of strings that really are going to do what you need them to do. But also the pickup stuff is really tricky too. And I've been.
Let's talk about that too. Yeah, that's, the pickup that you're using on this.
The pickup that I'm using on here is a David Gage Realist, which I really like. And I've owned a few different basses over the last couple decades with different pickup systems. My other bass, it has the Fishman. Do you know what it's called? It's
With
got
the two. It's just a Fishman transducer. It's got the two transducers that.
well,
fit in the bridge.
it's got the ones that are built. No, this has ones.
Oh,
that are
right in the wheels.
built into the wheels, which
Yeah.
it sounds pretty good. I feel it feels a little bit fussy for me. It sounds good on my other bass, but I would say what I really have liked with the Realist is because I've owned two different versions. The original one that I think they call the Copperhead, and it's got a little copper plate that sits under one of the bridge feet, and that's actually what I.
Oh yeah. Those are a popular pickup.
Yeah, those are good.
That
was on my Shen bass for.
And they look like they're just. So what the hell is this? But there's one on my other. So I have another bass too, which I loaned to Brian Coleman. Long story, not too bassy, but it had that pickup. I'm like, what is this garbage? Plugged it in, sound good.
Oh yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
And what I like about the Realist pickups, the one that's on here is the Realist Lifeline, and this one actually, I guess you won't really be able to see it so much, but the Lifeline, it actually
So the camera.
it ends up sliding up behind the bridge adjuster,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's they can kind of see that.
yeah, and depending upon whether you put it on top or on the bottom, it'll have a little bit different voicing. But I would say as somebody that, I like playing, thumpy, sometimes percussive, upright bass, but I also like playing with the bow,
Mm-hmm.
anything from, bow stuff with vibrato. But I feel like the Realist pickups do a good job in both cases.
Yeah, they're definitely. So I got to catch up with the room here. Mike Endicott. Do you know Mike Endicott from way back? Moved away, but yeah.
I probably have. I've played a lot of instruments.
Oh yeah. You've had some Endicott instruments. Yeah.
I remember the ones that got away. Like
he's out there.
The peach-colored Dan Electro.
Yeah, that's Trigger Cook has that one.
Wow.
Yeah, he got that one. So just in case you're keeping score, Mike. So anyways, he brought one of his Hofners with him. He had a couple. He sold one here.
Oh, nice.
I think. But anyways, he plays a lot of Hofner. He's a lot of Silvertone. He loves the short scale basses, and I appreciate that. He's been, I guess, a bit of a short scale bass. So I played the Hofner in the 80s and in the 90s when short scale basses were considered to be very uncool. There's a Fender bass, or you're a jerk, And Mike was a guy who played short scale basses, and so I gravitated toward it. He had the Silvertone, he had the Hofner, and I was like, this guy knows what he's doing.
And I think
he made the banjo bass.
You have one of the copper, the old copper Dano basses.
Yeah, it's right? Dano bass. Yeah, short scale. So it's short scale, short horn. So it's actually a guitar body with the bass neck on it, with the bridge all the way to the back.
That's the next one I'm gonna have to talk off.
Yeah. Okay. That's that one goes way back too. So Chris Limey says Haguenau. It's Band of Brothers trivia. Yes, but no. I think they're currently in Haguenau, but I think they were in this other town where they also was. We're talking about the town in Germany. And Dan says he's new to guitar playing. He doesn't know where the basses are from, but we'll Google this stuff. I guess later, and we'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I could look it up on my phone, but that's not cool.
That's kind of this is a talk thing, so we just got to talk it out, folks. Dean says, I finally got the Tone Master Twin amp. Also bought a Princeton Tweed 1x12 Canvas Rex. Do you know the amp? The Tweed Princeton or the Tone Master? Of course, the Tone Master. I own a Tone Master. Did you know that? Are you familiar with the Tone Master?
No, and maybe yes.
So what you could do is testify to the audience what a tube amp snob I am.
Oh yeah, I could. I'm a tube amp snob as well.
But you see my amps.
Yeah.
I think there's 20 of them there, and they're all tube amps.
Yeah.
I have one modern amp in the collection.
Tone Master.
The Tone Master from Fender. The Deluxe Tone Master. Sorry, folks, it just works.
I think I played that here at Gary's
when it was in here,
right. World headquarters.
Yes,
And I actually will say when I plugged into it, because I didn't lift it, I knew it was a new amp. Yeah. But I didn't notice that it wasn't a tube amp. And when I plugged into it, I really enjoyed the sound, and I guess I didn't really think about it. So, which is success.
Yeah. Oh, but he was talking about the Princeton. Yeah, Princeton Tweed. Yeah, the Princeton with a 1x12. I don't know about that, but there are some Princetons that had a 12-inch in them.
Yeah.
Some people would swap the baffle. Anything that's early Princeton and Tweed, I don't know if it's a vintage amp. Maybe it's one of the reissues. Probably one of the reissues.
Well, I think did he say it's got a Cannabis Rex? I think that's
The speaker would be new. Yeah. Either way, but yeah, it probably is a new fancy Fender thing. They also Fender. Speaking of amps, they have introduced a couple of amp. I guess next week we should do new Fender stuff show. But there's the cool stuff coming in the Fender world. But yeah, Tweed is. Did you ever have a Tweed Fender?
I did. I had one. Wish I could remember what it was now. I think the one I had been Tweed at one point, but the Tweed
was all removed, and so it was wood colored.
Yeah, I think it was some cool little 5-water.
Yeah, no, I think that might have been the original deluxe or something.
Yeah,
no reverb.
I spent a lot of time in this store. Since I was a teenager. I can't even. I have no idea how many things I've purchased and resold here to buy something else cool.
Yeah,
which could happen here.
Well, I found an old advertisement in Gary's drawer. Gary kept his old ads from the early '90s, and one was a blackface Fender Deluxe for $299.
Wow.
Yeah, those days are over, folks. But back in the day, this stuff was cheap. Back in the early '90s. Chris says he retracted because of typos. So yeah, let us know what you're. Okay, which headstock is your copper Dano? Dolphin? No, my Dano is a Coke bottle top.
Oh yeah.
And you're in the Coke bottle.
Totally.
Yeah. Camp. Yeah. The Shark. We had the Shark is pretty cool too. I think Mike Endicott's bass was a Shark. I don't know, Mike, if you're out there. Did you keep the Silvertone or did you sell the Silvertone? He kept very little of his. Remember when Mike actually sold all of his stuff here?
Yeah, no, I think I remember.
There's just truckloads of
when
stuff.
When there was tons of stuff, and then it was all selling through. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I don't know if he had kept that, but I think that was a. So when we talk about the headstock on Dan Electro, last week we had a Dan Electro extravaganza. I don't know if you watched it or heard about it.
I didn't see it.
Did. Guy Capistrano was here. And so if you're out there after this is over, go look at last week's video because we had 6 of Guy's Dan Electros here and talking Danos, and it was a lot of fun. And I got Danos coming in the store too. Finally, got some Danos. They've been so hard to get. Let's see here. Just catching up. Yeah. So we did that. All right, we are caught up. It's all about the bass, says Snordflit. These nicknames they're a little hard to. Yes, it's all about the bass day here. So I guess here's another thing we can do, which I meant to do.
Yeah.
As long as we're being impromptu. You hold this.
Sure.
I meant to bring my own Hofner.
Is this going to require tuning?
No.
Okay. It's just for looks.
Yeah. I meant to bring my own Hofner and contrast it with that, which I'm able to. But this is a new Hofner. This is what they call the Ignition Series, which is their made in Asia. They're cheaper made in Asia model, and they do still make basses in Germany in small runs, and they start at 2,500 and go up probably. I think, or I don't know what prices of everything's changing so fast, but. You see, the attributes are essentially the same. This is the same tail pieces on the Hofner, except they carved their logo into it. I've seen some of their basses with the same bridge. This is a reproduction of the original bridge. So I don't know. That one doesn't have it, but sometimes they use the same bridge. Sometimes they use similar or the same pickups. I don't know who the pickup manufacturer was, but.
Yeah,
but those are actually humbuckers. You said on that.
Yeah, I believe these are humbuckers.
But these are two. I don't know if these are double coil. Yeah, these appear to be 2-coil pickups, so they're 2 very different coils.
I personally like having the toggle.
Yeah. Oh, these switches are a nightmare, by the way, on the Hofners. I've owned a Hofner for 35 years, or so I've been told. And I still don't know what to do with these switches. Just put them all on.
But I guess the way that
Just stay away.
Everybody's different, but like I find for myself, I always want the neck pickup. I always want the neck pickup. I basically just leave it in one position. I turn my treble way down. I want some thumping, some heart thumping action.
All right. You're talking about short scale. I'm thinking of buying a cheaper bass to have around the house. What do you think about short scale for a guitar player that doesn't know bass? Well, you had another of the classic short scale basses. Remember that?
Yep.
The Fender Music Master.
I think I had Music Master. The Mustang is really cool too.
The Mustang's real similar to the Music Master.
Mark has a Squire version of a Mustang here. Is that right?
Yeah, we got the Mustang Squire here, short scale. It's pretty cool. We got the new Gretsch. The one thing we're selling here that you can get super cheap is this Gretsch bass that's short scale with 2 humbuckers.
Oh,
I guess if we're talking short scale.
I think I might have used to had that one too, and it was a good bass. Yes, I had one of these.
It's in the Electromatic series.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly fine. Short scale. They do have humbuckers, which helps.
Feels solid, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's a solid, it's a solid body. It's got a little bit of brightness so that if you do need to get that Fender sound, you can. But you put flat wounds on it, and we have one here with flat wounds on it. So if you want to check it out, check it out. But it's the retail on that. It's $329 with a bag.
Woohoo!
$299 if you don't want the bag. While supplies last until Gretsch raises their prices again.
And the thing that's great with a lot of the inexpensive short scale basses, whether it's the Squires or like the Gretsch, I mean, it's a good way, especially as a guitar player, to have some. Like I will say, the odd thing for me is I played upright bass before I ever owned an electric bass. So even when I started playing electric bass, it always felt. But for me, like a P bass, and a P bass is an awesome bass, but for me, it feels strange to have my arm
over there,
because at least with an upright, even when I'm standing up, it's just like this. So,
well, they do call it the horizontal bass was the original name for the P bass, I think, because it was the idea of holding a bass like this is crazy, and so that's why. So some of them had 2 strap buttons on it. So Leo Fender thought some people would want to stand like, it had another strap button in a weird place or something on the original P basses, because he thought people would want to stand like this and play it, not necessarily guitarists could
And then also some of the basses that have the thumb rest on the
on the wrong side. We talked about that before.
But that feels weird to me too.
So he thought people would want to set their fingers down and use their thumb to play. And no one did that, and people would take that finger rest and put it and move it to the thumb side so that it has something to put their thumb on.
I just took mine off.
Yeah, but they're originally on the wrong side. Squire Vintage Modified Jaguar Bass Special SS, Barry H. recommends, which is, hold on.
Yeah.
Ask and ye shall receive. We also have, speaking of short scales, it's a Fender Squire bass. So this is the Squire Jaguar bass. It has this stylish Jaguar-ish body. This is with a single humbucker. Perfectly serviceable. This will give you even more of the Fender tone because it's just a bright maple neck sound.
And there's one other Hofner that Mark often stocks that if you're not a fan of the violin shape, the Hofner club is an awesome.
Club bass is cool, slightly bigger body with a soon cutaway. Also, we're out of stock on the Contemporary series right now, but we'll have some coming in soon. The Contemporary series is a real exacting copy of the 60s instruments. The new ones are the new ones, and they're inexpensive, $429, I think, or something, $4 or $40, I don't know. But prices are changing so fast in the retail business, you can't keep track.
That's true.
Or the Squire Bronco is really cheap, someone adds in. Bronco, but yeah, there's a Bronco bass. There's a Squire version of it, the original Bronco bass. Bronco was, inexpensive stuff. And Music Master, especially you had a Music Master bass, that was considered student level stuff way back when.
Yeah, totally. Actually, the one that got away that I probably should have held on to, of many others, was I did actually have a 70s Fender Mustang bass. It was so heavy, but it sounded great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's talk about the ones that got away. Actually, there's two things. I don't want this to be like a interview show necessarily, but two things I'd like to talk about. One is, this is just something that's come up a few times and it's interesting to ask people, and I've asked the crowd as well, and people, what's the one piece of embarrassing gear that you have that is indispensable, like really usable? Like the Behringer thing that holds it all together, or the pedal that is like, what is the weird, like, okay, don't judge me, but this is the thing I use, piece of gear that you have? Do you have anything like that?
I sort of do it, and the piece of gear itself isn't totally embarrassing, but I'm using it for something different than what it's intended for. So, Tech 21.
Oh yeah.
Tech 21 makes these fly rigs, and actually, I think the fly rig is a very cool thing. But what happened for me is, at the time, I was playing acoustic guitar, and I thought, I'm going to buy the acoustic fly rig, and I'm using it for acoustic gigs and what it's intended for. And it ended up turning out that I didn't end up using it for that at all. And I ended up using it for, one day I was just checking it out, and somebody had a demo, and they were using it with electric bass. And I'm like, that's interesting. But it's got, you have a choice between the Tech 21 built-in preamp or no preamp. There's a booster. There's you have a choice. There's reverb if you want delay, and then there's compression if you want it. But I end up using that Tech 21 acoustic fly rig all the time with this. I mean, this is like, I've got all precision. I've got really nice stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so probably the least the for like playing a show or something like that, that is actually one thing I've used a lot. In fact, there was one show I played a few years ago at the what's the theater in Agunquit? I love
the Levitt.
The Levitt Theater.
Yes.
Anyways, we're playing the Levitt Theater on the big stage, and I did something terrible. I moved too far away, and so at the time I remember I was getting set up, and somebody's like, "Oh, do you want me to plug into your DI, which is my Tech 21 acoustic fly rig?" And I said, "Sure." And it was a good idea because somehow I had to move something, and I accidentally moved something where my amp got unplugged.
Oh, okay.
And I'm playing, and I could hear myself playing, but I lost my monitor. And the funny thing is the fly rig was it just kept on trucking. And I guess what I really like about it too, I don't have it here, but it's about the width of your average kind of single width guitar pedal, but it's probably about 10 inches long. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah, it's pretty compact. I've seen you use that. We've got some comments about that. Let me catch up here. So Mike did sell his Hofner. Dan K says, I'm also left-handed. I want to buy a more expensive guitar in the future. Every time I see a nice looking guitar, it's not available. Yes, because the manufacturers have been so behind in manufacturing, they're just kind of, because so few. So of the 10% of people who are left-handed, only half of them might actually play left-handed. And so it's really quite a minority of people who need a left-handed instrument. And so what I find is all the major companies have set those aside and just got to make more right-handed instruments because they're more in demand. So that is a thing that's going on. Do most left-handers play regular guitars? Yeah. So like I said, about at least half of people who are left-handed will play a right-handed guitar. And they can do fine. And only play a left-handed. So my advice to left-handed people is only play a left-handed guitar if you have to. I tried playing my brother's right-handed guitars first before I decided to make the switch. So it's
Do you play a left-handed piano or?
My piano is right-handed. I play drums right-handed.
Oh.
There is a left-handed piano. The bass notes go the whole thing goes the other way.
Wow.
I think they made one.
Those have to be cheap.
Because drums, you're just doing the same thing with tapping your feet, swinging your arms. But
actually, Mark's a pretty good drummer too.
Yeah, I've been playing drums for as long as I've had a Hofner bass too. So I'm not considered a drummer, but I've been playing drums for 30 years. So I am a drummer, I guess.
I'd say
I
you're a
own
drummer.
4 drum sets.
Yeah, well, you're qualified.
So yeah, do I pass the audition?
Do you have a left-handed cowbell?
So we're talking about yes. I just flipped my other cowbell upside down. And it works that way. Oh, I just gestured a right-handed cowbell.
Whoa.
Do I play? Yeah, I play cowbell right-handed because that's that's the hi-hat hand. Yeah. Toop, toop, toop. So that's how I gestured the. Yeah. Didn't think of that. So about embarrassing gear, some people chimed in. I have a 90 Zoom 506 bass multi-effects. I remember those. They are cool. They had a tuner built in. They were in the 2 digits new. And they hiss like crazy. Mine hissed. I had to get rid of it. Squire Vintage Modified Telly bass. My wife is a lefty that plays righty. Yeah, that's pretty common. I use an Ibanez TS7. Oh, so someone mentioned I used a Behringer tube screamer, and as much as or more than my Ibanez 808, because the power input is normal, so they use the Boss style power on it. And someone else mentioned, hold on, pitching up here. 90 Zoom TS7. Plug into any amp and feel right at home. So the TS7 was a later tube screamer. And then the Behringer. I have a Behringer phaser I use. Some of the Behringer pedals, and we talked about Behringer before. Some of their pedals are okay. Their amps, not so okay. Mixing console. Do you ever Behringer mixer?
Yeah, just a little cheap one.
They were the most common cheap thing, and they're all broken.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Actually, one thing I could say is when I lived in Portland, Oregon, I recorded, actually the first recording I ever made, and we got Larry Crane from Jackpot Studios to mix one tune. And the odd thing was he brought some toys with him, and one of the things he used on one of my vocals was a Dan Electro tuna melt, I think it was.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
But I mean, it was the little plastic pedal, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I think he probably just kind of looped some of it through and kind of layered it onto the vocal track.
Mike says, I once borrowed a new Hofner from a music store in Cambridge for a gig about 1972. It was dark teal green, the only one I've ever seen. Yeah, they didn't do a lot of colors back then. They did start doing colors. They had like 4 colors in the 80s. So Hofner has gone through a lot of different ownership things. And now, their recent kind of renaissance is because they have ownership that can really like spaces, and it's not a equity fund or some kind of weird pension fund or something. A lot of, what do you call that? Non-musicians getting in the music business for all that creamy money.
Yeah. Actually, do you know if I saw
private equity? That's what I'm
when Big Star, when there was a Big Star album in the 90s that came out that was live at Columbia University.
Yeah.
It was actually 2 of the guys, I'm spacing on the band name, but they're good. But Ken Stringfellow.
Oh yeah.
But he was playing a vintage, I think it was like white or blonde.
In the 80s, they had a blonde. I remember that.
Was it an 80s one or was that a 60s?
I think it was an 80s one because so in the 80s they had like 4 colors. One was the black one, the sunburst, and a blondish kind of, but still had binding and it was kind of like creamy colored, not necessarily blonde. It was like natural blonde. It was kind of painted.
It was cool.
So Marshall, Ohio says hello from Maine. Wow, all the way from Maine. We live in Maine.
Yeah.
So it takes me 9 minutes to get here from my house in Kittery, Maine, but
it takes me 10 because I live probably 11.
He lives a little further.
I live like 2 miles from Mark.
So, have you ever done a Fender Princeton tremolo mod in slowing and deepening the sound of the trem? The Fender Princeton tremolo mod. I personally haven't done it. It does exist because I know that people have done that mod and a few others on their Princetons and other Fenders. So I can't speak to it precisely, although I'll say there's a lot of mods out there that screw your stuff up. A lot of the Blues Juniors mods are just gonna. Oh, you had that Blues Junior that just had gremlins forever.
Yep.
After it got modded, and so you just be careful of the mods, folks. And if there's so many great tremolo pedals out there. And the same thing with reverb. There's a lot of great reverb pedals out there now. You don't need an amp with reverb in it. It used to be you had to have the amp with reverb.
And at least I feel like I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole with customizing this and customizing that. But I will say, at least with the pedal, you buy it, you own it for a year or two, you decide it's not exactly the way what you want. It's not too hard to replace or swap out and get something else.
Okay. Ed says I've had an MXR Dynacomp on my board since 1980. I bought the Mini and it's not the same. Yeah, the older ones are better. I don't know, but they're not the same. Dynacomp, that's I wouldn't even say that's budget stuff. MXR, that might not fit in the budget category. I think he's chiming in the the cheap thing on your board. Although they're cheap, they're still $99, I think, maybe, or I don't know, because everything that was 99 is now 109.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things people should be on the lookout for. Over the years, I've been lucky enough to buy a bunch of pedals from smaller companies, something that's a little bit and half the time because a lot of people don't know what it is. Sometimes you get it for
they get used, cheap.
Like I remember do you know the Barber LTD pedal?
No, I don't remember that.
It's a really, really nice like overdrive. And I think I got mine just somebody, on Craigslist, I got it for like $60 or something. And it was
yeah. I'll say we are living in the golden age of pedals. So wait to modify your amp. Leave your amp unmodified and just try a cool trim pedal that does the thing you want it to do. Because there's a lot of them out there now. Do you have a Princeton Marshall? Did you do that mod you spark of, but I think speak of? A Princeton Marshall.
Don't know.
You have to clear. Yeah, you're going to rephrase that question. So over the years, so what happens is people come in the store. We got Paul who works here doing repairs. Been here for 25 years probably now. And Paul is a great repair guy. People like, but he's he's not an outgoing guy. I wanted to have him on the show, and he just refused to do it. He just loves getting into Fender amps and just making them right. Just getting inside, just making everything just right, and just resolders the things that need to get resoldered, and only changes caps he has to, and sometimes puts them in parallel with the old cap, and all that kind of stuff. And just an artist. But people come in and ask him to do mods. Hey, I got this mod. Here's a bag of crap and some instructions I printed off a website. And he's usually like, because he looks at it, he goes, "You can't do that. Drill a hole through the circuit board, and then do this, and then do that. This is crazy. You don't want to do that because a circuit board is sealed. It has a sealant on it. And if you drill a hole through it and run a jumper through it, then you are breaking that seal, and moisture can get into your circuit board and then cause havoc.
Or your board can crack.
Or you can crack the board, or it's just not meant to do. Don't do that. So there's some mods out there that are kind of crazy, and so Paul doesn't like to do a lot of mods. He's like, he talks some people out of them sometimes. He's like, I don't know, man. I was thinking there was a Princeton Marshall. I don't know if
I haven't heard of that either.
No, that's a. Did you do a review of Monoprice 15-watt amp with the Celestion 7080? Yeah, so the Monoprice 15-watt amp. Have you seen those?
No.
Yeah, are you familiar with Monoprice?
No.
It sounds like there's one price. It's super budget gear. They sell it on eBay and Amazon.
Uh-huh.
And every once in a while, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So every once in a while, they have things that are cool. I think it was Jim Tierney who recently bought. Jim was a lifelong guitarist. He's our friend who's partially paralyzed, but he plays some guitar with one hand still, just because he loves guitar. And he bought one of these $100 Amazon amps, and it's kind of okay. I would not want to look inside there because it probably scare me. But it could be. No, it could be fine. I don't know. But yeah, I'm skeptical of Monoprice. There's some good cables.
Actually, it would be cool to hear
What's that?
If anybody has input on this, do you remember? I'm trying to remember the band from Boston. Do you remember the old days? Elvis. There used to be a club in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, called the Elvis Room in the '90s, and was it maybe Edge or Demon Qualities or something? But they had an upright bass player who played through a Qtron pedal.
Oh yeah.
And it was like the crazy. It was the craziest thing. And there's a guy from Nola Tet in New Orleans who they're kind of like a modern experimental jazz group, but he puts his upright through some distortion in some cases.
Yeah.
But if anybody has some cool pedal ideas or any, I don't know how many upright people are out there today,
or just something you want to hear an upright played through. Maybe we can do it.
No, but
we have a Qtron.
But it's cool to hear if anybody has experience with stuff like that. So
Barry says, "Are you familiar with Truth About Vintage Amps podcast? Very good podcast." So yes, there's this guy was a drawbridge attendant. To like a drawbridge that hardly ever went up. So he just basically sat in a booth with nothing to do. And he would bring in amps and fix them on the job, essentially. Now, people would just come to the drawbridge and leave their amp to get fixed.
Wow.
And small town, obviously. He is the crotchetiest guy. He's so crotchety about amps that he was the genesis of the show. I don't know if he's still the constant guest. It was someone interviewing this guy. But he makes Paul seem like just Mr. He just makes him seem like Mr. Positivity. He's just if you want good old fashioned angry old man amp opinions, it's a podcast called The Truth About Vintage Amps, and a lot of it is truth. I agree with him on a lot of stuff, but he's just so like, you don't have to do that. But his whole thing's like, I like to sit with the amp and listen to it, and kind of like Paul has almost a Zen, although he's not a Buddhist for sure, but he has a Zen approach to just like, only fix what needs to get fixed. Just be nice to the amp, leave it better than you found it, kind of thing. I ordered a Hall of Fame and a Mojo Overdrive from TC. What kind of pedal could I add next to continue my raising addiction? Compressor. Watch the video I made about compressors here on YouTube. It will fill you in on what a compressor can do and doesn't do. But if you got a reverb and you got a distortion, chorus or flanger, that's the next step, I think, in the pedal spiral, and that downward spiral that we call pedal addiction.
I also feel like a booster pedal is. I mean, it's not an effect, but when you start playing with people, and then like Mark turns his amp up, and then like I can't hear myself. So, So I need my booster.
Hit your boost, yeah.
Exactly.
Last gig you played with me, I didn't even have an amp.
Take that.
So take that. I didn't even have an amp. For the 30 years I've been doing gigs, 30 something years now, 33. I actually did the first ever gig last summer where Jonathan played bass at the gig, and I did not play an instrument. I only sang for the first time in my life. It was weird. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with my arms.
It was cool.
Flapped around.
He was Van Morrison.
Yeah, we did some Van Morrison.
Astral Weeks.
Yeah. But I was channeling. I was doing Van Morrison channeling because Van Morrison really channels a lot of James Brown. So you get kind of get in touch with that.
That was a fun show.
All right. So guess what? It's already the end of the show.
What?
It's already gotten there. So once again, thanks to my guest host, Jonathan Blakeslee of the Blakesleys.
Mark
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for coming and watching. Like and subscribe. We got to say that because that's important to YouTube. We got to keep that YouTube ball rolling. Check out the other videos here on YouTube. There's nearly 50 other episodes of the show. Some people start watching them and just go in and watch the whole thing. It's kind of creepy but fun. But yeah, so what else should I say?
There could be a snow day coming up.
Yeah,
so that's a good
exactly.
opportunity to like.
Thanks to our regulars.
Watch.
Yeah, if anyone needs to binge watch, we get the bingeables. Dispatch Master. Yeah, that is a cool little reverb. And cheap, so on watch. And
Ghost Echo.
The Ghost Echo?
Earthquaker Devices
Okay.
Ghost Echo.
Yeah.
I love that pedal. I have two versions. I have the original one, which is a little bit noisier, and then I got a slightly more compact one that the switches are much quieter, but I love the sound of that thing.
Cool. Well, so there's an extra tip.
Woo!
All right, stand by for the end. Thank you all.
Have a good night.
It's not the end yet until I say it's the end. You're going to press a button. Say good night, Jonathan.
Good night, Jonathan.
And you're out.